Okay, let's make a quick temporary tattoo. So first we're going to create a new file. This is going to be a print file and it's going to be a 3 by 3 inch file. So make sure you're at inches, make sure your resolution is set to 300. We're printing this, so we're going to do CMYK color, and we want a transparent background because we don't want anything to be on that background once we print it. We'll click create. Now I've got my blank document. I'll enlarge it by pushing Command 0, and I'm going to go ahead and find my photo. So I go to File, Place Embedded. Then I go into my downloads and I find the photo of that creepy man on his weird bike. Maybe I'll do a different photo next time. Both still creepy. Okay, so now that the photo is placed in here, I'm going to complete the place by pushing return. And I'm going to see what happens when I click on select subject. If your contextual taskbar is missing, go to Window, Taskbar, and contextual taskbar, and it'll come on back. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select my subject and cross my fingers and see if it selects it well. It did a pretty decent job. It did get the shadow over here, but that's all right. So now I'm going to add a layer mask. So I can click the layer mask tool right here. It's this rectangle with the circle in it. I call it the Japanese flag. Or you can click it right here on your layers panel. So you can see that it did an okay job of selecting him. I'm going to go in and I'm going to make some changes to my layer mask now. So I could use the select and mask feature, but I'm going to go ahead and just start by using my paintbrush. So I'm clicking my paintbrush. You can see that I have black and white here, and my layer mask over here is selected. So if I use anything that's black, it's going to mask him away. If I brush in white, so if I click here and flip my white and black, it's going to bring the background back. So that's how the layer mask works. So I think it's probably a good idea to get maybe like a 60% hardness, make my brush a little bit smaller and maybe a lot smaller. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just see what I can do about removing some items. I'm not going to do a perfect job, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to click X because that's going to flip my white and black. That's the shortcut. And I'm just going to brush away this part of the shadow. And you'll notice that when I do that, it starts to also brush it away in my mask. So black removes items and white reveals items. So white reveals and black conceals is my fun little phrase for that. And like I said, I'm not going to do a perfect job, but I'll just go like this, get rid of some things. Now I'm going to click X again, flipping my white and black. I'm going to make my brush smaller and kind of pretend that I know where the handlebars are. If I wanted, I could take the density of my layer mask down so I can see things. But again, I'm not going to make this perfect. All right, I'm going to call that good. Bring my density of my layer mask back up here in a second. I said I was going to call it good. Now I'm fixing more. Okay, now I'm going to call it good. So that was step 1. It's removing the background of your image. Step 2 is adding clip art. So I'm in Google Images. I've looked up clip art hats and I wanted a jester hat. So I'm going to go to Google Images, making sure I'm on Images. I can go to Tools and then I can go to Color and click Transparent. And this will hopefully give me different hats that actually have a transparent background. A lot of transparent images they're not really accurate and they lie, so we can just remove the background just like we did before. Oh, that worked. Okay, so that ended up being transparent and worked great. If you can't find a transparent image, then again, you can just remove the background just like we did with our person. So I am gonna go ahead and place the hat on his head by resizing it using the tool, and then once it's the right size, I'm going to click return and it's good to go. So I am nearly finished. I have my photo, I have my clip art. Now all I need to do is add text. So I could go into Adobe Fonts like we have in the past, but I want to show you a kind of a fun, easier feature than even Adobe Fonts. So if I take my type tool and just click, I get my Lorem Ipsum. I'm going to type in what I want it to say. So this is an elliptical machine, so I want it to say elliptic guy on it. And what I'm going to do is, now that I have my text written, I'm going to go ahead and select it by just double clicking on the text, and you'll see this shows up right here. So this allows me to warp my text. So it's not the best idea to warp your text too much. There are better ways of doing it, but for the sake of this, go ahead and figure out just a fun way that you want to place and warp your text. You can use any one of these features that you'd like. I'm going to stick with just an arc and say okay. And then I'm going to go into my fonts. Again, I have so many ways I can access my fonts, but watch this. If I click on my fonts and then I go to, I'm going to clear all. There we go. There's a delay on it apparently. Okay, so I'm inside my fonts. Now I can go right here and I can say handwritten fonts, because that's the criteria for this assignment. And it only gives me like 8 options. But if I go and I click on more fonts and wait a second, it'll give me a ton of handwritten font options. So again, make sure you're clicked on handwritten, and then I have all these options. So whatever you do, make sure that you pay attention to case. So for example, if I choose this, notice that it's in all caps. So if you don't like what it looks like in all caps, then don't choose it. You also want to make sure that your text is very thick, bold, and readable, because this is going to be a tattoo, and so we want to make sure that we can read it. The final step of this is to make sure that we are really understanding the letter spacing on our type. So if we want to adjust our letter spacing, that's something called kerning. So kerning is where you place your text cursor between 2 letters. I don't know if you can see it, but it's blinking right between the 2 cursors. And I'm going to click right over here on my character panel, and it says VA metrics. So I could just use this little arrow situation that pops up, or I could be like, oh, I want to increase it by so many points. So my spacing in this typeface is pretty messed up. Like, it's really wide here, but way too close here. So I'm going to put the cursor right there. And so what I'm doing is I'm just hand adjusting my kerning of my text so that I'm just eyeballing, like, what looks good in terms of the spacing. That one's actually got too much of a space, so I'm going to go back a hair. And these look okay for the sake of speed. That space is way too wide, so I'll go back and maybe go to there. So it's not perfect, but I'm going to call it good. And once you guys have your clip art, your photo, and your type that's warped with perfect kerning, you are done.